All right. Let's see if this thing gets going. Boom. Looks like it's rocking and rocking. I'm going to close this down here. All right, guys, as you roll in, say what's up. What's going on? This is Carter with Coin Mastery TV Special Live Edition. Beautiful Wednesday. More importantly, very exciting day in cryptocurrency. We hit 11,000. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback. But I thought would be really fun today, or really helpful, I should say, today, is look at what's going on with Bitcoin, talk about what's going on with the price action, really try to answer as many questions as possible, both if you're already in crypto and if you are thinking about getting into crypto. So I'm going to try to help everyone a little bit in that sense. What we're going to do, as I've learned from a few of these live streams, is we're going to go through some information, just run through what's going on, essentially walk through a few different ideas, some strategies, and then I'll take some questions from the chat box. As you guys can see, there's going to be a lot of people that roll into these. Last time I was answering questions. This time I'm going to answer questions a little bit in the middle, but mostly towards the end. So stick around. Most importantly, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps get the word out, get the algorithm running. All right. Also, type in your name, where you're coming from. Let everyone know what's up. We're going to keep this PG. Don't type anything dumb. We're going to have to block you. I don't want to have to do that. So here's what we're looking at. We're starting off with GDAX. If you don't know what GDAX is an open exchange. This is the back end of Coinbase, which is the exchange that most people buy crypto on. And the reason why we look at GDAX is that typically this is the best indicator of where the price walls and like both buying and selling is going to happen. That's why I look at GDAX the most. It's not necessarily the best or anything. Gemini is great, GDAX is great, maybe Bitfinex or whatever exchange you use. But that's why we look at it there. And what you're looking at is here's all the sell orders, here's all the buy orders, here's how they match, and then here's the price action that's going on, right? So if you look at it over the hourly, you can see that we had a huge bull run. We blew right through the 10,000 mark, and then it came down. And what we were talking about yesterday, if you go back and you look at yesterday's video, is that right below 10,000, there was a huge amount of resistance. There's a ton of orders over here of people just layering them up. And then all of a sudden, within a matter of minutes, like 500 Bitcoin worth got chewed up, and it just blasted right through, right? Went up 50, 100, 200 dollars in a matter of minutes. We had a pretty quick pullback, and then we had a continued bull run as the just overwhelming demand kept going. Now, whether or not that resistance was real to begin with, who knows? All I know is that it just got eaten alive. In a second, we saw a massive, massive surge. Now, we saw a big peak to the top, which incidentally looks like it's pretty on par with the Fibonacci extensions, which we'll take a look at in a second. And now we're seeing a sell-off. Now, I would encourage everybody to think about this less as a sell-off and more as a huge mass profit-taking situation where everybody was up at night, at least in the United States, and they were watching this thing go way up. It hit an emotional threshold, which Fibonacci tends to do really well. And then you've seen people who are starting to say, all right, this has been great, but I'm going to take some profits. I'm going to make sure that I'm protecting myself. I'm not going to let this get too crazy. And then that's why you see, and then that kind of perpetuates itself and you see it dropping down. That's what's happening right now. This complete emotional cycle. Remember, this 10,000 number, it is all psychological. It has nothing to do with like, it's worth more. I mean, it's just a number. But us as humans tend to think about levels as kind of the new paradigm, as they say in the euphoria levels of the trade. So that's the first thing to keep in mind, is that as we hit this 10,000, there's just a big pent up release of emotions of people being like, oh my God, we made it. Wow, I should really lock some hard profits in. That's what's happening over here. Okay. There's no big fear event as of 11:05 p.m. Pacific. I'm sorry, a.m. Pacific. You can tell how much sleep I've had. So that's what's going on. So if you are sitting at your desk or on your phone or wherever you are right now and you're watching these prices go down, realize that this is not like some massive sell-off event. This isn't the end of days here. It's just thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people, many of which are already in crypto, are looking at this and saying like, you know what, I've had a really good run. I should pull a little bit out so that, no matter what happens, at least I lock that in. And that's an important part of the process. That's healthy. That allows for people to buy in at lower levels, and it brings more money into the space and all that good stuff. So I'm not too concerned about this, even if it drops down lower and lower, because this isn't driven by fear other than like, oh, this might be the top. It's driven by people doing what you do in a market, which is, you take your profits after it goes up. You have to sell at some point if you want to realize gains for the most part. All right, cool. Question, did I take anything out at this point? I did. One thing I did do is kind of like what I talked about in my video, is I took like 2 or 3% of my Bitcoin. And as it was going up, what I did was GDAX and Gemini, they don't really have trailing stop loss orders, meaning it can't automatically follow your order well. So what happened was it got up to around 1050 and I just kept canceling and resetting the limit order right below it, so that if it did dip, it would execute that order. And that's exactly what happened here. So I missed out on this extra piece because of this drop, this candle. But a majority of my coin I didn't mess around with. I did that, one, for the psychological reasons, which we talked about, right? Taking profits is hard to do, even if you know you should do it. So that was the first reason. The second reason is just, it's a lot of money. I mean, that's why we're all here, or most of us are here, I should say. So I did do it, but I cannot stress enough, taking out profits, scalping, even if it's a very small percentage of, let's say you have $10,000 in crypto, in Bitcoin, selling even $200 of that, just going through the process makes it very easy, because when this thing goes up even more, it's going to go up to like 15, 20,000 at some point, maybe next week, maybe in 6 months, I don't know. But when it gets that high, it's going to be even harder to take money out. That's why I did it, just like I talked about in the videos. Now let's talk about what's going to happen next. If you've been a subscriber on this channel, you know that I don't like to predict things. I like to react to markets. And so one thing I will say is that if you do let's just say theoretically, I'm looking at the Coinbase chart here, 1 day Coinbase. Let's say theoretically, we were going to say that peak was the high for now. And let's go back to like the last real big dip, which happened in July, which kind of was when CoinMaster started. And we do a Fibonacci retracement, right? I'm going up to top to bottom, which I'm pretty sure is right. I'm sure there's technical guys who are just going to crucify me because I didn't do it the right way. But for all I can tell, this is the right way. More importantly, this isn't a completely accurate depiction, but what this can do for anybody who's brand new is this can give you levels on where retracements can happen. So if this was in fact the peak, who knows if it is, for this mega bull run that's happened over the last couple months, these are the levels that you want to watch the most, right? So if it's going to retrace 94, maybe a very interesting point at which it retraces to. If it blows through 94, 77, 97, according to this chart. And I would encourage you guys to go learn about this yourself. There's also plenty of guys who can do technical analysis better than I can. But this at least gets me in the ballpark for what sort of retracement I look for. I am much more risk averse than a lot of people are as it relates to buying in. So what I do is I dollar cost average every week. I'll put a certain amount of crypto into the market every single week, automated buying. I don't care if it goes up or down, it just keeps going. It takes my emotion out of the picture. And then I wait for really big dips to deploy even more capital. So in this case, I would probably wait until, below 77, maybe like the 7,066, somewhere in here as my first layer of bidding. And then I would move down. And then this would be when I would really start to dump money in as a way to load up, because the chances of it continuing to go past this as it relates to this kind of charting are very low. Now, as many of you know, like I have my previous orders at 4,900. It didn't necessarily hit that anytime within this run. And so some people never, because it only went down to 5,600. But I didn't lose any money. I didn't buy something and then it kept dropping. And that's really the name of the game as you're trying to build a long-term portfolio, which is what I'm all about. A big question that people have been asking, would ask is, should you get in right now? And the answer is yes, you should, but you shouldn't go all in right now. Okay, that's a big difference. I mean, look at this thing. It's dropping off. People are taking their profits. The price is going down. Everyone's freaking out about it being a bubble. I get it. What you should do is you should go to Coinbase and you should set up an account. If you haven't done that yet, there is a link right below this video in YouTube, and you go coinmastery.com/Bitcoin. That is a completely free course, 100% free. There's no catch, right? There's nothing in it. And if you take that, it'll show you what you need to do, and it'll actually walk you through the Coinbase process. Because I could tell you to go sign up for Coinbase, but most people won't. And if you do that, you get 10 free bucks or whatever. But just go sign up, put $100 in. And the best thing you could possibly do is just start dollar cost averaging your way in, because nobody knows if this is going to skyrocket back up, if it's going to drop down to 5,000. People might think they know, but they don't. But get started, put $100 in, and start the automated buying process. That is the best possible thing you can do. Start small and then slowly build up. There's a lot of runway left. This is not going anywhere. It's going to be around for next couple of years easily. I mean, more than that, but this kind of gains. But you got to be in the game. So for anybody out there who's on the fence, just go do it. Go put $100 in. Don't wait. Stop wasting your time. All right. Cool. Let's see here. Now, for anybody who's into the altcoin markets, you'll notice that we're seeing some pretty good red coming down. Now, you notice that I have a Chrome extension that gives you the US dollar amount as opposed to just the Bitcoin pairing amount. It's tempting right now to buy into altcoins as you scalp out of Bitcoin and then you move it into altcoins. But what history would tell you, at least the last 6 months would tell you, is that is often not a very good strategy, because if Bitcoin's going to fall, altcoins are going to fall with it, at least in situations like this, when it's doing a big retracement like that. It's much better to buy into the altcoins when everything is depressed, and then the altcoins will outpace Bitcoin on the way back up. Right? We're starting to see that with some altcoins, but that's why in yesterday's video, when we talked about taking profits, in times like this, it may be better to take profits into something like US dollars, like actually into hard cash, and let all of this stuff settle down, because everything's pegged to Bitcoin. That's just how it works. So I'm keeping an eye on some of these altcoins, but more importantly, I'm keeping an eye on the US dollar amounts. Usually I trade everything against Bitcoin because that's what I'm trying to beat. But in cases like this, when it's highly parabolic and Bitcoin is super volatile, the US dollar is really where I want to be looking, because Bitcoin, it's just really uncertain. The volatility makes it a harder game to play. That's just me. That's what I would tell anybody to do. When it comes to these altcoins, I'm going to wait until Bitcoin settles into some sort of retracement. More importantly, I'm going to watch the volume and see if we can get a max volume level, right? Like you can see back in September when we had that huge spike in volume. You could see here we had a huge spike of volume to get this mini dip. We're seeing a big spike in volume to get this new high. The next low is going to be marked by another huge spike in volume. When that happens, that's when I'm going big on my buys. That's really what I'm waiting for. So that's just me. All right, let's take a look. As always, if you guys don't know, if you're new to crypto, this is going to be like a lot to. But there's a digital currency called Tether, and Tether is like, it's supposed to be backed 1-to-1 with US dollars. That is very suspect at this point. But you'll notice that an hour ago, $25 million in Tether was issued again over to, I believe it's Bitfinex. And you can see that, maybe not on this chart so much, but you can see that there was $25 million issued, but we're still seeing a big retracement. So that the margin is not necessarily going in the right favor as right now. So keeping an eye on this as it relates to price, like we're continuing to see a big dip, the margin may be going the other way in this case. So keeping an eye on it. Look, it's dropping all the way down 10,000. You can see what the support looks like at 10,000. So if you scroll out here, not a ton of support on GDAX, so wouldn't be surprised if it blows through there. Look at that, down to 9,000. Boom. Just going through the floor right now. And as you can see, so this is really helpful, right? So assuming that was the top, 93. So this Fibonacci level is not going to hold up. So this would be your next target, right? 77, give or take. This is the one you want to watch. This is crazy how much it's bouncing. Look at this, like $400 buys at a time. Let me go to 5 minute. You can see this thing just tanking down to 9,000. So this is what you want to look for next. And if you get in even more closely on the 5 minute, this is when you can look at the volume, right? So while this was a huge dump, the volume isn't big enough. So that to me means that this is not the final bottom. You're going to want to see the volume up here, and then you want to see a lot of action before you make a judgment call on it being the big bottom, like the real buy-in. And that takes patience. It just takes a while to be able to really think about that. But wow, it's pretty wild to see this thing just go down. It's already back up to 9,800. This is even with 25 million in Tether being issued at the same time. So very, very, very interesting and exciting times. Remember, if you're freaking out, take a deep breath. This is what it is. Like, this is what parabolic bubble, you can call it whatever you want. This is what happens in these markets. And 95% of the time, doing nothing is probably your best move. Okay. Best thing you can do is just write down a plan look at the charts, look at the market sentiment, ask around, look on Twitter, find out who's talking about what, and you can make your plan for what you will do next. Okay, let's take a couple questions here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just pop them in the chat box. If you are new or you're just joining us, hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. Say what's up. But I'd love to chat with you guys. You can see I'm on the 30 minute right now because I want to see this volume. That's really what I care about as this price changes. Now remember, as Warren Buffett said, you buy when others are fearful and you sell when others are greedy. There's a lot of greed happening up here. And there's going to be a lot of fear as it drops. So always good to keep in mind. Alexander, are you registered to receive payments from the Brave browser? I'm not. That's a good call, though. I've been meaning to do that. Brave is it's like a browser that's on the blockchain, uses crypto. There's no advertising. It's pretty cool. I want to start using that. I think it's a cool product. I really just want to see if how much better it is or not than these. Let's see here. You don't have profits until you press that cash out button. It's really true. And I think that there's a lot that goes into the decision to cash out, but I think it would just be, I think one of the hardest things to imagine would be like being a holder of Bitcoin and seeing your account be worth so much and then watching it come down and level off and only walking away with like 20-30% gain, which it's fine. But when you see it at that level, even if you just take out a little bit, it's important for so many reasons, for your bank account, for your like, mental, whatever. But that's definitely something I would recommend. All right, let's see what else we got here. What do you think about Litecoin at the moment? I think Litecoin, I think Charlie is great. I think that he's super, he's straight shooter, and he is who he is. He's been that way for a long time. I totally respect that. I think Litecoin's an interesting technology. It's fast. It's got a lot going for it. Something I personally believe, and this is because I'm more of a macro, I look at how do people react to this stuff. I think that if Coinbase wasn't the cheapest coin, I think if Litecoin was not the cheapest coin on Coinbase, it would not be anywhere near worth 5 or 6 billion or whatever it's worth right now. That's just me. Nothing against the technology. I think that they just got sick exposure, and price is the ultimate decider of a buying decision. And when you're looking at something worth $9,500 like Ethereum or $98 like Litecoin, a lot of people just buy Litecoin because it's the cheapest option. And I think that has created a disproportionate value for Litecoin. That's a perspective. A lot of people would disagree with me on that, but that's what I think. All right, let's see here. GDAX is broken. I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's like 500,000 people trying to log in right now, and I'm not even going to try. So, for better or for worse, one thing that you can take away from that, right? I'm always a big believer in any situation, positive or negative, what can you learn from it? If GDAX is in fact down for you guys, and I'm not going to log in because for a variety of reasons, this is a good thing to keep in mind is have your buy orders, or at least some of your buy orders, live on the exchange. Now, you don't want to keep your money on the exchange. I think Coinbase and GDAX are a little safer than most because they're heavily insured by the FDIC. They also have a huge insurance policy. But at the same time, the best protection is always own your private keys, keep them offline, keep them on a hardware wallet, whatever. But in parabolic situations and volatility, having a little cash on the exchange and having your limit orders set, that mitigates your risk. Right? Controlling your environment is the name of the game at scalp trading or at high stakes trading. So I'm not saying anyone is right or wrong, but that's something you can write down, right? I'm a big believer in having a trading manual, diary, whatever you want to call it. Every day you write down what decisions you made, any trades you made. Usually, hopefully it's very, very few, more often than not. But you can also write down, what did I learn today that I can apply next time I get myself into a situation or this thing happens, right? What have I learned watching Bitcoin drop from 11,000 down to 9,800? Just in the last 20 minutes, what have you learned? You write that down. What's your emotional state? What good decisions did you make? What bad decisions did you make, right? Tally it up, right? Put it on a spreadsheet. That's always helpful. All right, let's see here. We got Coinbase crashed. Awesome. We got GDAX going down. Very, very cool. CME, good or bad? I think CME is good in the sense that it has to happen. We need price discovery to be more than what it is right now. Meaning the prices that we see for Bitcoin, Bitcoin for now, because that's the only one that futures are really going to be on. But the way that the price is being driven right now is ridiculous. We've all benefited from that because it's, 100,000 people a day in Coinbase, maybe 5 to 10,000 of them actually sign up and put some money in. We're seeing institutions. But the fact that like 3 or 4 people can move a market the way they want and they can go on CNBC and pump the thing, that's ridiculous. And if we want this to actually grow, we need the CME to come in and we need them to create hedges and to create situations that can allow bigger amounts of money to hedge themselves. What's going to do for the price of Bitcoin, I am not entirely sure. The one thing I am sure of is that futures traders are mercenaries. There's nothing personal against futures traders. It's just that they will make profit. Like, they're profiteers more than any other trader I've met, or any other person in the hedge fund space, right? Like, in a hedge fund, you've got the CEO type, you've got the biz dev type, and then you got the trading floors, you got the research, you got like all these different departments, and the traders are typically split into different types, right? There's swing traders, there's the what do you call it? Like the futures traders, there's options traders. Futures traders, they really like to make money. So I don't know. I think that they're actually going to drive a lot of uncertainty into the market, because they're going to make the most money the more volatile it is. Right? That's what their true incentive is. And they may drive the price way down so that the overall fund can buy up more Bitcoin. But I think more importantly, like, they're going to drive the price down and up and down and up so that they can scalp it like all day, all night, and because it's cash settled, it's not settled on BTC. So there's an entire secondary market. So I don't know. I think the one thing I would say is that it's going to be really a lot of volatility. And it's going to be harder to do the kind of, it's guaranteed to go up type of thing. I think that if they see an opportunity to short something, they're going to short the hell out of it. If they see a lot of downward movement, they're going to go long big time. So we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Where do you have your buy orders right now? My buy orders are really low, because at this point, I don't have any buy orders live, but I'm looking mostly at, let me scroll out here. The one day, I'm looking mostly around like the 7,000 area as where they start. And remember, you start there and then you layer up. So if I had $10,000, I would put 1,000 at 7,000. I'd put $2,000 at 6,000. I would put $3,000 at 5. Like, it gets increasingly big. And the reason why is because, one, I dollar cost average all day. So this is just gravy on top of that, or every week. And two, all I care about is not losing money. Right? I would rather not have something fill than have it fill and then continue to go down. So even if it does fill, I'm going to set pretty tight stop losses on it. But I really want to see like the volume higher than it's ever been. I want to see people on Twitter freaking out. I want to see people all over the social networks being like, how can Bitcoin come back from this? We're screwed. Oh my God, this is the end of it. What do we do? Like, that's what I really want to see if I'm going to deploy a serious amount of capital into this. But from a chart standpoint, look at the price as it relates to the retracement levels, and then look at the volume, because the big dips are going to be when the volume is the biggest. Now, if this thing could easily just consolidate right here, right around 99,000, 9,500, 10,000, go sideways for a little bit, have a little bit up and down, and then skyrocket again. And I wouldn't buy anything. I would miss the whole thing. But that's fine, because I buy dips. That's when I deploy capital. I don't think about how much more could go up. I think about how much more could it go down after I buy it. Let's see here. Operation Dragon Tiger. Yeah, the Dragon Slayer thing, like, there's just, I don't know why people give so much credibility to it. It's just like, someone wrote, as far as I could tell, it was like put up on Reddit and 4chan, and everyone, it just fulfilled a deep fear that everyone has, that there's some massive conspiracy to just tank the whole market and Bitcoin Cash goes through the roof. And it's like, I mean, how many of these things have we seen that just it's like, come on, there's too much. Yeah. It's just, I don't see that as a real threat. I don't buy into that sort of thing. If there was somebody behind it, if there was an actual person who was talking about it, then that'd be one thing, but no, give me a break. Let's see here. When Chase asks, capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is something that I would encourage everybody to go and check out in your jurisdiction, whether it be federal, state, regional, wherever you live. Go figure that out. Talk to an accountant, talk to a CPA, talk to a lawyer about it, because that is a very, very important piece of trading and in crypto. In the United States, it's a bit of a gray area right now. I can't give anybody advice on what they should do. I really can't give you a recommendation. I would tell anybody that when in doubt, err on the side of being of paying more than you should. And I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, but it's always better to stay in the game, right? Like, just crypto. If it's crypto to crypto, like, pay your taxes, like, do not the right thing. Just like play by the rules, because the alternative isn't worth it. So, but again, you got to talk to your accountant. You got to talk to a lawyer about that, because everyone's in a different situation. And yeah, that's it. Let's see here. How do I cope with seeing my portfolio tanking after a month of continuous gains? Well, let's look. So if you bought in October, and give or take, right? Which, let's say about a month ago, and that was at 5,500, and you've doubled it, and now you're tanking down to 9,700. So I think the first thing, this is purely from like a mindset standpoint. The first thing you got to do is you got to think about the long game, right? Yeah, I mean, you go micro on anything, you're going to lose your mind, especially in finance. If you think minute to minute or hour to hour, you're going to completely go crazy. So you got to think about, okay, well, does this really matter in 5 years? Right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is look at the relative gains. How much are you up right now, period? And then compare it to what the alternatives have been. If you had taken the money that you had invested in, you would put it in somewhere else, right? Into an index fund, into your bank account, into a business, wherever, real estate. How does it compare to this? And chances are, if you got it a month ago, you're way ahead of pretty much anything else you could have invested in, for the most part. So I think that's the second piece. I think the third piece is, this is an unpopular opinion, but I think that if you are losing, not you, like if people are losing sleep at night over the amount of money that they have invested in cryptocurrency, that is the bigger issue. Like, that's a problem. You can't live and die by a market. If you have a certain amount of money, and it's like making or breaking your future, or making or breaking your happiness or your sleep cycles or whatever, that's a lot to be gambling. And it is gambling. And right, everyone, you do your own thing. I'm not telling anyone how to live their life, but you may want to, like, you should be waking up and being like, okay, well, oh, awesome, it went up, or okay, it went down, or whatever. And the more you are banking on this to change everything, the harder it is to make good decisions, the harder it is to really capitalize on it, because you're playing defense. You got adrenaline running through you all the time. A lot of people don't agree with me on that. That comes from experience of trying to do high risk, overexposed stuff. Just my 2 cents. All right, let's see here. No sleep lost here. You can only invest what you're comfortable with. Yeah. And I think that that's a tough one, right? I fully understand that how much of an opportunity this is for people that maybe have never had an opportunity like this before. And maybe we won't have one like this again. But there's a very real possibility that this could go way down. I personally don't believe that that's what's going to happen in the next 5 years. I think that it's going to do this. But you have to think about that first, and then you think about the upside. You protect yourself from the bottom. And even if you only have $500, you still got to think like that. I think something that for a long time I resisted is that I didn't listen to like hedge fund guys. I didn't listen to people that have made millions of dollars because I was like, oh, well, they're different because they already made all their money. They don't have the same problems I have. And what you realize is that they have all that money because they thought that they started very small, and now they grew because they stuck to the fundamentals and the principles and all the boring stuff that seems like it doesn't apply to people when you only have $500, $1,000. And if I could go back and tell myself when I was 22, it'd be like, or even earlier than that, when I was like 15, be like, dude, just follow the fundamentals. Like, don't lose your money, manage your risk, grow it, and then go make more money to like pour into this investment. I don't know. That's just something I've learned, and it took me a long time to learn that, and I learned the hard way. So hopefully I can help people you don't have to learn from your own mistakes. You learn from my mistakes, which is one of the life hacks, right? You learn from other people messing up, not from yourself messing up. All right. Let's see. Carla, need to get reported. Where are you at? Oh, yeah, Carla, doing a little binary option. Banned. Block, right? All right, see ya. Tanking, see, 9,000. Here we go. Beauty. Let it roll. All right, so the next target we're going to look at, 77. Keep this. We get the volumes kind of picking up. This is the daily volume though, so that's not very helpful. Look at that thing. Just bombing down. This is great. Bcash future. I don't know. I own some Bcash, not very much, but it's purely as a hedge against this. Let's see how Bcash is doing right now, actually. So as Bitcoin drops, Bitcoin Cash is starting to pick up. So like that's why I own it, because it evens out this kind of negative behavior. So, guys, this is what a reflexive market looks like. So, if you're freaking out, the best thing you can do, take a deep breath. Don't worry about it. It's gonna come back at some point. People are gonna start there's gonna start to see support. You're going to start to see these buy orders start to fill up. It's going to happen. And then we're going to even out for a little while. It's going to go sideways. It's going to do a little bit of not a cup and handle, but one of these parabolic kind of secondary things. And then it's going to come back up again. It may not come back up as fast, but we're going to see a retracement. This is just people selling. Buy when fear happens. We're not nearly at max fear yet. So let's see. CVC long-term hold. I'm holding Civic long-term. Not a crazy amount, but enough that I'm interested. Mostly because I think it's a huge problem that people have, identity, like credit, stuff like that. And two, I think Vinny is really good at the game of business. And I think he knows how to build and sell businesses. And I think that he's going to do the same thing for Civic. And right? I had an interview with him. Great guy. And he is who he is. He's a biz dev guy. And that is a rare breed in crypto. And in the world of product first thinking, which is what crypto really is right now, often you need the people that are just the first to get in there and get the contracts and make the first deal are the ones that win. Being first is a big deal. Let's see here. crash. You guys got to, I mean, dude, like a week ago, everyone's like 9,000. This is the greatest thing ever happened. This isn't a crash. It's just, this was overvalued. That's all it is. All right. Keep your eyes on the levels. This is what you want to be looking at. Now, if the exchanges are down, which it sounds like some of them are, realize they're down for everybody. Right? They are missing out on millions of dollars every minute that it's down. So they are definitely trying to get it back up. But this is where you want to be thinking about your plan, the attack mode. And if you can't set your orders yet, you spend your time figuring out where your orders will be set once you do have access to the exchanges. All right. Let's see here. Carter, how can you buy the dips when it takes so long to transfer money back to the exchange and may miss the window? It's a good question. Basically, it does take time, right? If you do a wire transfer, it's going to take a few hours. But if you are trying to play a game that is kind of based on a few hours to begin with, you may want to keep money on the exchange. Like I'm the guy who's I fully endorse keeping money offline, lock it up, put it into some safe deposit boxes around the country. Like that's definitely my MO. But if you want to play the fast moving game, you put yourself in a position where you can move fast. I think one thing that people don't do, at least on Gemini, on GDAX, on many of these accounts, is that if you just transfer ACH money from your bank into the account, it's going to take like 4 to 10 days. If you do a wire transfer, I mean, it's there in 3 hours. Like, I mean, it's just like that. And they charge whatever, $10. And you can do an unlimited amount of money. So that's a faster way to do it than anything else. Another way, it's like if you have crypto and you want to sell it or move it, sometimes it's better to move it with Ethereum or something, because I don't think GDAX is on SegWit quite yet. But you can move it with Ethereum, quickly exchange it, and because Ethereum will transfer a lot faster than Bitcoin will often. There's different ways to do it, right? You can get creative about it. All right, let's see here. Let's see let's look at the alts. Bitcoin Cash coming back now that Bitcoin is moving up. It's amazing how much those two work in tandem. Bittrex obviously just getting crushed by the server load. Hilarious. I shouldn't say hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's just like, it's classic. So keeping an eye on that. Yeah, I think overall, look, when everyone gets onto these exchanges, you're going to see the price level off, because for everybody who's like, shit, I got to get on there and sell something, there's just many people that are like, I got to get on there and buy something. So this price is not necessarily an indicator of the severity of a dip. Right? It's always important to keep that in mind. So 9,400, assuming this is the retracement that you would look at or that other people would look at, this is a big trend, right? If you just did it from the 3,000 dip, which happened in September, you would see different levels. This is more of just like, if this is the top of if this is the big fireworks display, this is the major macro run. This is the major macro levels. You can obviously change it and you start to see some new levels, because maybe you don't think that this is the final hurrah. And even more, you can go to the most recent run if you think we still have a big leg up. And this is what technical analysis is all about. This is where this is not my expertise, so I don't pretend it to be. There's just different ways to look at it. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Are there any other questions? Been on here for a couple minutes now. How come Australia is so crypto oriented? It's a great question. I have no idea. Ripple, any future? Ripple's an interesting one because I think the Ripple is like, it's kind of built for companies that want a reason to be in blockchain without actually being in blockchain, right? So because all these companies that use Ripple, they don't actually use the currency, they just use the platform, which doesn't necessarily impact the price of Ripple. So I think there's a lot of partnerships and opportunities. I mean, Arrington yesterday, the guy who founded TechCrunch, he's launching a hedge fund, 100 million. Everything's based on the Ripple platform. It doesn't necessarily impact the price because they're not using the Ripple currency, which is a big difference. I personally like Stellar Lumens a lot more than I like Ripple because with Lumens, the way that the way that you build on top of the Lumens platform, it requires to use the Lumens blockchain. So from pricing standpoint, from a usage and like transaction standpoint, it's much more conducive to transactions as opposed to Ripple, which is much more of a protocol platform. So you can invest accordingly. I'll put my money in Stellar Lumens before I put it in Ripple. So that's what I think. Let's see here. Robert, I can't use Coinbase in Hawaii. What is your suggestion for a second alternative? It's a great question. I saw a few Steemit posts on this. I've been looking into this because I go to Hawaii a lot, and it's an important question. So first thing is you can do something like local Bitcoin, which you're probably going to end up paying a premium on that, but you can get it, meaning you're actually going to meet up with people and buy Bitcoin. There's a lot of risks to that, but I've never done it personally, but that's one way to do it. I think another, like this sounds completely crazy, but another way is like get a cheap flight to California or something and see if you can buy it off someone there, see if you can go to an ATM. I know that sounds crazy. I know the ATM have high fees. I get it. But when you look at the investment profile of like the cost of going over and getting it over the long term, that may be worth it. The third thing, which is more difficult to do with the KYC stuff, is like try to find a VPN or something. I think the last thing I would tell you is you can have friends and family set up accounts who do live outside of Hawaii. People live on the mainland, have them set it up, buy the Bitcoin, and then send it to your address, and then you give them a nice Christmas present or something, right? I'm not recommending all this because I don't know what the legal ramifications are in Hawaii, but those are all potential options to do it that all really kind of involve either trust or paying a premium, unfortunately. Cool. All right. Well, let's see. If there are any other questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to get back to biz here. My personal plan, looking through this, my eyes are going to be on the volume pretty much all day, on the short-term volume, right? Like the 5 to 30 minute volume, give or take. See what these orders look like. I'm going to see if this is a short-term, just bull trap / bear trap. Bear trap, I should say, to get a bunch of people to sell off, or is this a sustained trend? Time will tell. Let's see here. Carter, what is your favorite privacy coin? Zcoin and Monero, for sure. Dash, what do you think about Dash? Thoughts? More I dive into Dash, I'm more impressed I am with their team. They run it like a real business. And I think that if they can nail a few niche markets, they've got something going. Like the masternodes thing was genius, which is what I'm hoping happens with Zcoin. But what they're doing now is they're taking Dash and they are taking that stability that the masternodes are offering, and they're really trying to solve a problem using privacy coins. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get into the cannabis market, right? So if you look at, there's a bunch of companies they're working with, like Alt36 and a few of these ATM companies. It's still very speculative, but cannabis and cannabis dispensaries, that is a massive problem with, like, people can't pay with anything other than cash. And you go to these cannabis dispensaries, they have like vaults in the back full of cash, just like blocks of cash, because they can't put it in the banks because federal and state laws are different. And so Dash is going after something like that. That is really interesting. Just, if they can pull that off, that's amazing. But I think that's what privacy coins, that's what you got to look at, is what's the unique privacy problem that they're solving? Because there's only going to be a few privacy coins, and each one of them has specific nuances, and they have to become like the privacy coin for something. So if Dash becomes a privacy coin for the cannabis industry, that's huge. If Monero becomes a privacy coin for like offshore bank account types, like the Panama Paper crowd, that's huge. If Zcoin becomes a privacy coin for Southeast Asia, for, in cross-country payment, like there's a lot of different niche markets, and that's the key. So Dash is going after that. If they nail that, they're going to be worth a lot of money. Right here. All right, cool, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. It's been great. Very cool to watch this happen in real time. If nothing else, guys, this is not a freak out thing. A freak out thing is if this went to 3,000. That would be like, okay, what's going on here? But there's technical issues with the exchanges. There's a lot of pent up uncertainty. People, like, this all happened very quickly. This is going to stabilize quickly. All right. The price will not, it will stabilize one way or another. The best thing you can do, plan out your next buys. Don't buy emotionally. Have a plan. Stick to it. Layer your bids. Crush it. This is a very exciting time to be in crypto. 12 months from now, we're going to look back at this, be like, why are we getting hung up about $9,000? It was at 90 now. Cool. It's been great, guys. Peace out. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. I'll catch you later. All right. Peace.